Now we can speak to Professor Avi Bell, who is a member of the Faculty of Law at Bar Ilan University and the University of San Diego School of Law. He joins us from Jerusalem. Thank you so much for joining us, Professor. Let's start by talking about the time frame here. When might we know what?
This is going to take a long while. There was a judge who estimated yesterday that just hearing the witnesses would take 3 years. And that's not an outrageous estimate. This is going to take a long, long time.
OK, so you don't think this is really realistically going to have any particular impact on Netanyahu's current challenge, which is that bid to try and form a government?
No, I don't think that the items are linked in any way, except for the fact that the very charges themselves are playing a role in the politics of this. And the Attorney General is aware of that. The Attorney General's held several primetime conferences during election season to try to move the public away from Netanyahu, charging Netanyahu with being a criminal. And I think that we're going to see more of those types of displays, but there's not going to be any outcome from the courtroom for a long time. The coalition negotiations will be long over by then.
OK, and just shifting towards the sort of the evidence, really. I mean, people talking about Benjamin Netanyahu as a crime minister, a bit of a play on words there we're hearing from some of his opponents. He's accused of accepting these gifts, trading favours with media moguls, abusing power to advance his personal affairs. I mean, how compelling does the evidence sound to you? I mean, is there any sort of what we might call a smoking gun or any of those hanging around?
I don't think that the trial hangs on the evidence. I think that it hangs on the ability to convince judges that giving favorable media coverage constitutes a bribe. Now, there's no precedent of any such charge anywhere in the democratic world. There's an obvious reason why. A free press demands that the media be able to give the positive and negative coverage to any politicians they want. And politicians obviously seek positive media coverage all the time. So I think that really what's at issue here is not a question of the evidence. I think that it's obvious that Netanyahu and every other politician in Israel seeks positive media coverage and receives it on occasion. I think the question is whether the judges are going to go along with this. At the moment, I'm not confident that the judges are going to set aside the case, but I think that we know what the result should be.
And so let me just pick you up on that. I mean, Netanyahu, 71 years old. You say you know what the result should be. Are we going to see a day when Benjamin Netanyahu is behind bars? What's your hunch?
I think that that's very, very, very unlikely. There are many ways that this can slip up before that ultimately happens. And I think that the main purpose of bringing the charges was to wade into the politics of this, to convince Netanyahu to step aside more than to get him finally behind bars. I cannot see ultimately a court putting any elected official in Israel behind bars for seeking positive media coverage. That's just, it boggles the imagination.
OK, well, thank you very much for sharing that with us. Professor Avi Bell, thank you so much for speaking to France 24.